High five! Great!
Very nice. High five.
Hello and welcome to episode 3 of High Fives and Deep Dives. I'm Chris.
And I'm Alan.
Can you believe that we've made it to 3 episodes?
I can't believe we've made it to
I
3.
mean, I don't think I've stuck with anything for that long. That's impressive.
Yeah.
3 whole weeks.
And you know, the funny thing is that people are actually listening to this, which is wild. So far, it's just friends and family.
Yeah, it's hashtag worth it so far.
Hashtag worth it.
So, today's topic is going to be health and fitness.
Yeah.
Or lifestyle, healthy life, healthy living.
Yeah, we're going to deep dive kind of off the cuff today. I think we're just going to kind of talk about a subject we're passionate about, or at least interested in.
Mm-hmm. So, what's so interesting about health, a healthy living to you?
Well, to me, a healthy living is part of human longevity, and I think there was a really interesting book that I read once called Younger Next Year, and the premise goes, essentially, the human body was designed to procreate and then die, basically, right?
Sounds like a pretty miserable book.
Sounds like a miserable book. So the theory is that biologically, you are programmed to propagate the species, and then you're done, pretty much. And you decline more rapidly if you can't kind of contribute to the overall health of the tribe. So hunting and gathering, for example, once you've kind of exceeded procreation phase and you slow down and you can't hunt and you can't gather, your body knows this somehow, I guess, and just you end up getting sick and dying off. And so this book basically suggests that you can trick your body into thinking biologically it's still viable and providing for that tribe as long as you stay healthy and as long as you stay fit. And the key to doing that is through, among other things, strength training. And this book, realistically, the target demographic for this book is people in their late 50s, early 60s, retirement age, where what you see is a lot of people retire and then they're like, well, I'm done. I worked my whole life and I've saved up and now I'm just going to chill on the beach. And then they die, like, instantly because they have nothing else to do. And that's because they, according to this book, according to the researchers, what is left to do? You've contributed to the species and now it's your turn to go because otherwise you're a burden. So health and fitness is key to ensuring that you live as long as possible.
It's funny that, isn't it? Because that's probably not a lot of people's outlook on what it's all about. Health and fitness for a lot of people is looking good.
Yeah,
I know we spent a whole podcast last week talking about wanting to look good and being vain.
Well, and that's part of it because you want to propagate the species. You got to look good to do that. You need, because people are attracted to someone who looks healthy and looks like they can provide for the family, right? And it doesn't matter what social dynamics you throw at human beings. It doesn't matter what the cover of a fitness magazine shows. If you remove all of those cultural biases, people innately are attracted to a mate that potentially looks healthy. Not too skinny, not too fat. Someone who looks like they can climb a tree and throw a spear and have a child.
That's super interesting. I was thinking about that recently because there is obviously an image that society deems as fit and healthy. And then there's also a lot of other extremes that people are supposed to find attractive. Like they talk about and it's kind of reversed here. You're really talking about men when you're saying all these things, I would say. But your typical model's physique and body type, female model, is super slim. Mm-hmm. But what you just said there doesn't really apply the other way around, because I would say that the ideal body for a childbearing woman or a healthy childbearing woman is more hippie. They have more fat stores.
Right.
But why isn't it the case the other way around?
I'm gonna
Would you
check.
say, well, hold on, would you say that innately people would find that attractive if they had nothing put in front of them or society hadn't told them that skinny was beautiful?
Well, actually, this study was done. I'm gonna talk out my ass here for a sec because I don't know who the researchers were, but I remember this. Basically, a tribe of non-English speaking, I think they were from Africa or South America. These men were shown 3 silhouettes of women's body types. You've got the really skinny, you've got the average, and you've got the obese. And these men were asked which silhouettes they found most attractive. And the majority of the men pointed to the woman in the middle who had the childbirthing hips.
There you go.
And these are men who have not experienced any of Western culture's indoctrination as to like what constitutes beauty. And the funny thing too is that beauty, like the beauty industry, is dominated by gay males largely, right? Or historically. They're the ones kind of dictating fashion.
Yeah.
If you look at all the high-end fashion designers. And I'm going like, a gay guy shouldn't be dictating what looks good. you know? And maybe we're getting a little bit off topic, but all that is to say, health and fitness is an important part of the human lifespan and should be prioritized pretty highly, in my opinion, as far as how you shape your day and your activities and
So you say it should be prioritized.
yeah.
How big a part does it play in your life?
Well, not
You
enough.
hypocrite.
Not enough. Well, I mean, I'm pretty good at keeping myself accountable. There are times when I go on a bender and it's just nothing but greasy Chinese food for a week, right? But what I like to do is cycle a ketogenic diet, and that keeps my weight in check.
Right. Tell us about that
Ketogenic diet?
ketogenic diet.
Sure. Incidentally, that's one of the most Googled searches, I think, for the last year or two.
Why? Because it works.
Because it works. Okay. All right. I'm going to put my evangelizing hat on for a moment because I really like talking about my own personal experience with the ketogenic diet. But before I get too far into that, let me just kind of give a brief overview for people who don't know. And incidentally, it's one of the most Googled things of the last couple years because ketogenic diets actually work. Essentially, it is high fat, moderate protein, next to no carbs. Biologically, your body is going to take energy from nutritional sources such as sugars and carbohydrates first because of the most bioavailable energy sources you can consume. And the ketogenic diet serves to deprive your body of those energy sources, and that forces your body to look elsewhere, and in this case it's fats. And your body, I can't remember if it's you produce ketones or you burn ketones. I don't really know how the ketones come into play. What I can tell you is this: once you starve your body of carbohydrates, you're going to start burning fat, and that'll come in the form of like a dietary source like bacon and avocado and peanut butter and stuff like that. And it'll end up actually coming from body fat too, which is what makes the ketogenic diet really good in terms of if you're struggling to lose weight and you just can't figure it out, keto all the way, 100%.
Yeah, I think people would be surprised because they hear the term diet and they instantly assume that they're not going to be able to have anything that they enjoy. But one thing that I've noticed about the keto diet is there are a ton of things that you can eat that are actually pretty good and foods that wouldn't normally be associated with diets.
Yeah, you wouldn't think bacon is like part of a healthy diet.
That's right.
But it is, and it's
Cheese.
delicious. Oh yeah,
Sausages.
tons of cheese, tons of sausage. Not too much, right? Because your fat macros have to be higher than the protein. Otherwise, your body will use the protein as an energy source too. So there is some nuance to it. If you're interested, though, Google it. There's so many recipes out there, and it's every year there's more and more research that goes into this. Everything from like how your brain works on the ketogenic diet to how endurance athletes can handle those kind of dietary restrictions too. It's very interesting stuff. And a lot of people accuse me of like, because I like to cycle. I like to do 1 month of pure keto for every 3 or 4 months of just regular eating. Now that's just a personal preference. I wouldn't consider that yo-yoing. Some people are like, oh man, see, diets don't work. You just yo-yo and then you have to go and do it all over again. Maybe, but it's also, I like constraining myself. I like challenging myself, and keto is definitely a willpower challenge because a lot of delicious things you can't eat them.
It is close to impossible to find food, especially fast food, that has no carbs.
Oh yeah.
Like, you don't realize how many carbs are in foods until you're on a keto diet and you're looking at a menu. I mean, I'd say you could shave off 90% of the menu because there are carbs in those foods.
Yeah, you're eating burgers that are wrapped in lettuce instead of buns. I did order one of those once. It was good.
Is it good?
It was okay.
I've heard that they're okay.
I ate it with a fork and a knife, which seems counterproductive. It's not a burger if you eat it with a fork and a knife, but that doesn't mean it wasn't delicious.
So that covers diet.
Does it?
No, not at all. There are a million diets out there.
There are.
There's all the paleo diets, or the paleo. I don't know how you say that. Paleo. And they're kind of similar to keto, but you've also got a whole bunch of other diets where someone that kind of lives and dies by the 40-40-20 diet, or is it 60-40-20?
No,
people have their macros split up
40.
differently. There's intermittent fasting.
Yeah.
There's all sorts of diets out there, but the keto diet works. It just works.
Yeah. It works if you have willpower. And that's true of anything, though, right?
Yeah.
Willpower, because nobody wants to say no. And if you're... Some people, it comes down to a matter of how you frame it, right? If you say, I can't do this, I can't do this, I can't do that, I can't eat this, the word can't is probably not helping your case. So you have to reframe it and say, I won't eat this. I will not. And I will not because I have a goal. And that goal is to go, say, 1 month keto diet. And the results are great. Like, you can lose 10 pounds in a month on keto.
Yeah.
I have a friend I was talking to yesterday who lost 10 pounds in like a couple of weeks.
Yeah. That's my body.
Yeah.
My body does that. And
like, to be fair, a bit of that's water weight. But like the results in the mirror, I don't even bother weighing myself.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, like I start on a specific date and I just eat clean. I eat keto. And at the end of the month, I look at myself in the mirror and I go, okay, job well done.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even weigh myself anymore.
Yeah.
And diet's like a part of a healthy lifestyle. But physical activity matters too. Like, you're not going to lose... I think if you're trying to lose weight, diet probably counts more than exercise.
I would say that that's one of the single biggest mistakes that people make when trying to change their body image in some way, or specifically lose weight or tone up or whatever. People put exercise ahead of diet, and I would say that diet carries significantly more weight in terms of those goals, achieving those goals, than exercise does. You could work out 7 days a week, but if you're going home and you're eating pizza and you're eating cheeseburgers and you're drinking half your calories, you're never going to get anywhere physically. I mean, you might build up some muscle or more endurance, but you're not going to achieve the goals you want to achieve by doing that. And that's something that I would say it took me a very, very long time to learn, because I love to eat. Mm-hmm. And I would wonder why I wasn't getting bigger, or I wasn't getting more toned, or whatever it happened to be. But it's because I was exercising. Yeah, I was doing sometimes 5 workouts a week, but eating like shit.
Right. So you were trying to do the opposite than most people then. You were trying to bulk up.
Well, in that case, probably. I was very skinny at the time.
Right.
But still, even for bulking, I mean, people think that, a lot of people, to diet, you need to eat less. Or to lose weight, eat less.
Right.
To put on weight, eat more.
Right.
It's like the calories in, calories out thing.
Yeah.
But the quality of the calories and the macros and the food sources matter.
Correct. Yeah.
A lot.
An orange has the approximate same amount of calories as a donut, but one of those things is going to be far more nutritionally valuable, nutritionally dense.
Yeah, exactly.
Hint, it's not the donut. So that's kind of what we found works really well from a dieting perspective for us in terms of keeping our personal fitness goals in check, but working out is important too. Why don't you weigh in on what you found works pretty well? I think a lot of guys, if you're like me or like yourself, they want to learn how to put on a little bit of muscle mass, and it's hard. It's difficult, especially if you're an endomorph, or is it
ectomorph?
Ectomorph. I always mistake those. So yeah, nutrition plays a big role in health and fitness, but like we touched on earlier, so does physical activity. I think a lot of guys probably, they struggle not to lose weight, but they actually want to put on muscle, and it's so much harder than, I would argue it's harder to put on muscle than to lose weight.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
But there's also dietary techniques to do that. Like you have to eat clean and eat a caloric excess in doing so to put on that mass, because your body has to fuel muscle growth and everything, so high protein, and you want to make sure you're getting healthy food sources for that. But the workout regimen is very important when it comes to actually bulking up.
Yeah, I think this is where the supplement industry has people by the balls, so to speak, because they realize that there are so many people that have that issue. They put effort into putting on weight or losing weight, and they're hitting a wall at some point. Everyone plateaus at some point, or just straight up can't get anywhere from the start, and they claim that they can make it easier and faster. It's never cheaper. But everyone is interested in taking shortcuts. That's something I've noticed, and I would say that in my wise old age,
He's using air quotes there.
yeah, I've got the air quotes going. You can't. There are no shortcuts, really. I mean, ultimately, no matter what you do or who you are, you have to work hard and be consistent. So if there's one piece of advice that I could give anyone, including myself, because even though I'm telling you this right now, I still don't follow this myself, even. Being consistent is the number one most important thing when it comes to achieving a fitness or a health goal.
Right.
So there are periods where I'll go and I'll stick to something and I'll do everything perfectly well, and then I'll slip up eventually, inevitably, even within a few days. And I think maybe it's just for me personally, but when I'm not doing what I want to do, or when I'm being made to do what I don't want to do, rather, it takes an eternity. Like, life becomes slow because I can't
it's like
do.
a chore.
Yeah, it's absolutely a chore. Life becomes a chore because I have to prepare meals for the next day, or I have to go work out when I don't want to work out, or I have to do a workout I don't want to do, even if I'm in the mood for a workout.
Leg day.
Leg
Leg
day.
day.
That's why you need friends.
Yeah.
So the consistency thing is something I'm learning is absolutely vital. And I remember reading something not even that long ago that said, write down everything that you do, everything that you eat, every workout that you do, and be very specific, because often you think that you've done really well at something. And I've met so many people that have said, oh, I went to the gym, I'm not seeing any results, or I've been on this diet for 4 weeks and I'm not losing any weight. You're doing it wrong.
Yeah.
Even if you think you're doing it right, if you've written it down, go back and read your diet, read what you've eaten each day, how many calories it's been, or look at your workouts, and you will see that you are not doing as well as you think you've been doing.
Right.
So if you can stick to something and you write it down and you follow it by the letter, the success or the achieving the goals is inevitable. So for me, that's what I feel. I'll do it really well for a week, for 2 weeks, and then I'll drop off for a week or two, and then I'll start doing it well again for a week, and then I'll go back to 3 weeks not doing it well. So I think being consistent in your diet, being consistent in whatever it is you want to achieve, you'll achieve it. It's the consistency.
Yeah. Yeah, consistency is really key. Because if you don't use it, you lose it, right? And I'm a good example of this because I haven't been in the gym in several months, which is terrible. And I can tell and I can see it and I feel weaker. And like I enjoy doing body weight workouts a lot, like loading screens in the middle of a video game. I'll drop and do 20 push-ups or whatever while I'm waiting. And I stopped playing video games for a while and started binging Netflix and Stranger Things, hashtag Stranger Things. But because I was basically inactive, shit, dude, it's so much harder. I wish I had remained consistent because now when I get back into the gym, it's going to be such a steep uphill battle. It's always an uphill battle going to the gym, I think, for a lot of people. Yeah. Unless you're one of those like masochists who really, really enjoys it, and we know people like that. So okay, let's. Here's a hypothetical scenario. I'm an average guy. I wanna put on a little bit of muscle mass. How do I go about doing that?
You know, it's funny because I am certainly not a prime example of someone who's jacked or who looks like what most guys would want to look like.
He's being modest, ladies.
No, but it's kind of like the whole football manager scenario. There are a lot of really successful trainers and managers for different sports and anything in life, really. And you can be a good manager without having done it yourself. Yeah. So I feel like I know exactly what needs to be done, and I have had some success, and I've seen great results in those times that I have done something consistently for a short period of time. But I mean, I wouldn't look at myself and think, do you want to look like me? Then listen to what I've got to say. But the consistency thing is a big deal. So to put on muscle is what you just asked about. Yeah. Diet, we just mentioned earlier that diet is so huge and matters so much. But I would say, and you hear the term clean bulking all the time, and I think that ideally everyone wants to put on muscle and they want to put it on cleanly. They don't want to be getting fat at the same time. But the reality is, that's the easiest way to do it.
Is to eat garbage while working
well, not
out
necessarily
hard.
Garbage.
But eat regular food while working out really hard.
Eat an excess of calories in order to be able to put on extra muscle. But you're inevitably going to put on a little bit of fat. To do it the clean bulking way, some people say it's impossible, which is kind of funny. But it just takes a really, really long time. Yeah. Because you're having to find the balance between putting on, like, taking in more calories, which generally puts on fat at some point, depending on what you've eaten. And then, obviously, not eating so much that you become a fat ass. Right. And that's a fine line for a lot of people. But if you go to the extreme and you eat, I don't know, 10,000 calories in a day and you work out really, really hard, you'll 100% put on the muscle. So really what I'm recommending is a cycle in terms of a diet anyway. If you have spent all that time having the caloric excess and you put on muscle but a layer of fat over top, we just mentioned keto. Keto diet would be the perfect way to trim some of that fat after while retaining the muscle.
Yeah, and the whole time you're being consistent working out.
Yeah,
you can work out on keto.
This is obviously assuming that you've done the right work in the gym to put on the muscle.
Yeah, because a bulking cycle isn't going to work if you're not in the gym. Then you're just bulking your fat ass.
Yeah. So assuming that you've got the diet covered and you're consistent, as far as workouts go, I really don't have a specific workout that will work every time because everyone has different goals. But as far as building muscle goes, I think it's all about the intensity. So the amount of weight or the actual weight itself, whether it's 200 pounds or 50 pounds or whatever it happens to be in kilograms, It's the intensity. Your body, I've heard the term, your body doesn't know weight, it only knows intensity. So your muscle fibers will grow and adapt to try and be able to handle that weight or that intensity better next time. It's just the way that the human body works. You keep doing something, you keep kind of hurting yourself, your body will repair.
Right.
And that's kind of how the body responds to intense workouts over and over again. It builds muscle and says, hey, I'm going to be able to do this easier next time, put less strain on me.
Right.
So as long as you're doing something intensely, compound lifts are great for that. Things like deadlifts, squats, bench press, because they use multiple different muscle groups, a lot of the supporting muscles. So you're not really doing bicep curls in that case.
Curls for the girls.
Curls for the girls. You could also do those as a supplementary exercise, but ultimately do things that are going to shock your muscles. Switch up the exercises, switch up the repetitions, do supersets, do drop sets, do free weights, do barbells, do dumbbells, and you kind of, as long as you're consistent and you've got everything else in place, there's no doubt that you'll get somewhere.
Right.
That's really all I could say without knowing someone's specific goals. But then I know I mentioned earlier, I'm certainly not any sort of Adonis that you should look at and go, wow, this guy knows his stuff based on his physique. But I've done enough now to know what works and what doesn't, and the reason why I don't look like that is because I'm not consistent. So I'm probably a great example of what not to do.
Well, yeah, but at the same time, no one's ever going to look at you and go, I bet you that guy's never lifted in his life, you know? So
Yeah.
I think you've got the balance, and excuses are easier to make than gains.
Absolutely. You'll never get something you've never had without doing something you've never done before.
Yeah.
Something like that?
Simple logic.
Is
It
it
makes
that?
sense. I don't know. I've never heard that, but it makes sense.
Oh, it's a really good saying. It's better than that. I'm totally paraphrasing, but it's something like that. So that's probably something to live by.
But I mean, for any of your fitness or lifestyle goals, ultimately it takes work, sacrifice, devotion. You have to put the time in.
Yeah.
You got to put the effort in.
Yep.
You've got to. It's a mindset, I think, just as much as like the physical act of going to the gym or the physical act of ordering the salad instead of the triple cheeseburger. You know, you have to have a mindset that this is what I want and this is how I'm going to achieve it, because no one else is going to achieve that for you.
Yeah.
So
Theoretically, it's the easiest thing.
it really
Like,
is.
if you think about the logic,
Yeah.
we have this argument often about, or not an argument, a discussion about smoking.
Yeah.
And how we're neither of us are smokers, but we say how easy it is, logically speaking, to stop smoking.
Yeah, like you literally just
Don't do it.
Just don't do it. Like finish that last pack of cigarettes and then just don't buy anymore.
Yeah.
And then you literally have no more cigarettes to smoke, and therefore you can't smoke.
Yep.
You know, and your friends are smoking? Cool. Just don't bum one from them.
Yeah, and it's the
right?
same with the lifestyle. If you're looking to change your lifestyle and live a healthier life or improve your physique, just do it. Like just do it and do it always. And it's so funny because
not easy.
It's that simple. I mean, it's not. I mean, every day it's
Yeah.
not easy, but
In
terms
theory,
of
it's so simple. In practice, it's not simple at all, because you actually have to be disciplined and hold yourself accountable in everything, right?
Yeah.
Hold yourself accountable for skipping gym day. Hold yourself accountable for ordering the wrong thing on the menu when you know what's best for your body or your goals. Hold yourself accountable when you say for the 5th time that I'm going to quit smoking, and then go out and bum smokes from someone.
yeah,
Because if nobody else is going to hold you accountable. If you want to make lifestyle changes, you have to first of all be in the mindset to do so, and then second of all, make sure that you're willing to deal with the stress and the sacrifice and the feeling of just that goes along with that, because it's not comfortable to make changes. No. But is it healthy for you? Yeah. Is it going to potentially ensure that you live longer? Yeah. Is it going to make sure that you live longer without shitty diseases that could have been prevented purely because of lifestyle choices? Probably. You know, health disease, heart disease is one of the number one killers.
It's probably one of the most preventable diseases also.
It is, and it's very much a first world problem because like people always go like hashtag first world problems, but heart disease is a legitimate first world problem because we have an abundance of food and calories, and we tend to work at desk jobs or whatever, or sit in front of a TV after work and just not getting enough exercise, right? And now that's kind of spilling off into the third world because as McDonald's franchises pop up everywhere and that food is somewhat affordable for people, you know, they're dealing with it too. There's fat kids all like Guam.
Yes.
Guam has some of the biggest people out there, I guess.
That's an American settlement though, isn't it?
Yeah. Like the United States took over Guam, I guess, as a territory for strategic purposes and imported the American lifestyle with it. And all of a sudden, it's per capita, I think it's like one of the fattest countries in the world.
You know, I saw something on Vice not too long ago, and McDonald's chains and other similar fast food chains from the States are completely taking over the Middle East. So there's families who are going to McDonald's, KFC, etc. in Qatar 4 days a week. They're becoming addicted. It's kind of like, if you look back, I don't know how many 100 years ago, but when white man introduced alcohol to the Native Americans. Firewater. How they just didn't have the tolerance for it. And I wonder if that's what's happening in the Middle East, because they don't have the tolerance for the addictive substances in fast foods.
It's possible. There's the whole, like, anything could be addictive as well, in terms of like what you enjoy releases dopamine in your brain, and whether that's compulsive gambling or compulsive masturbating, you know, if it releases endorphins and dopamine, you could become addicted to it. And if fast food is what turns your crank, like for me, it's sushi.
Well, that's not so bad.
Well, but if you eat in excess the way I tend to do, it can be.
Mercury poisoning?
Well, yeah. And calories, like forgetting the toxicity of the fish, like just from a caloric perspective, if you eat sushi the way I eat sushi, sometimes it's bad news.
Yeah.
We call it a bulking diet. Yeah. Obviously, sushi's off limits if you're on keto, and that's probably one of the hardest things to give up. But
I think, in general, if I could give any advice, if I was on my deathbed and someone's like, just give me one last piece of advice before you go, Grandpa. Because in this hypothetical scenario, I've got grandkids at the age of 32. I would say, for any of your goals, fitness or diet related, consistency is the number one. And one of the ways, like I mentioned earlier, to tell if you're being consistent is to write everything down. And every week look back at what you've done, and you'll see whether or not you've performed as you think that you have. And in most cases, it's not the case.
Right. And hold yourself accountable. That would be my advice, is like, if you fuck up, that's fine. Don't beat yourself up over it. Just accept, like, okay, I screwed up. I will do better. Hold yourself accountable. Don't let yourself slip up. Don't make excuses. Just do it. Be consistent. Be accountable. And I think over time, you will develop patterns in behavior, and you'll see the results, and you'll be empowered by those results, and you'll just kind of keep going. It's like a positive feedback loop at that point, right? Mm-hmm. So, yeah, health and fitness.
Nailed it.
Nailed it.
Check.
Do you have any recommendations for this week?
Do I? Yes, I do. And it just happens to be fitness related. So I've been unable to go to the gym that we had been attending for a while back there. I moved, like Alan said, moved building with work. And the timing's just not great to go to that gym anymore. And it's nowhere near where I live. So I was looking for a solution to a home gym. And given that I'm buying my first house early next year, I needed something that was wasn't too heavy, was easy to set up, and it was something that would give me some flexibility. So what I did was I went out and bought a set of adjustable dumbbells. So you know what a dumbbell is. You lift it up many times, in the hope of gaining muscle at some point. So dumbbells can be expensive because it's weight. It's straight metal in most cases, and metal's not all that cheap. And if you want to do a whole series of exercises, everything from a chest press to squats and everything else in between, then you're going to need a series of dumbbells varying in size from £5 all the way up to, I don't know, 90, whatever happens to be. So I was looking at a couple of grand maybe for a decent set of dumbbells that went from the range that I just mentioned. But I came across this adjustable dumbbell set from Bowflex. I think they're called the Bowflex, no, Select Tech 1090s, that's what they're called. And what it is 2 handles, essentially, that attach to a series of weights. And you clip the handles to the weights, and you can go from those numbers I just mentioned, 5 all the way up to £90 per hand. And that's a pretty decent amount of weight.
So you're saying the same dumbbell you can change up from as low as £5 up to £90?
Yes.
And so, just by clicking a knob?
Yeah. So rather than have a full set of dumbbells, individual dumbbells on 2 giant racks that take up a ton of space and cost a lot of money,
right,
I did buy this set where I can just put my hand in, turn the clip, and then I've got a dumbbell that's set to the weight that I clipped it to. And I can use them for all sorts of things, but it takes up very little space. They were a little bit pricey. They were about 750 Canadian dollars, but it's an amazing investment, brand new, and a 3-year manufacturer warranty and a 1-year warranty from the place that I bought it. So great value for money. I've used them a ton. My plan is to buy a power rack at some point down the line when we get our new house, and I'll have essentially have full gym to myself where I can do pretty much every exercise that I ever do on those 2 pieces of equipment.
Right, and then you'll just need to have me over to be your spotter.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So that's me. What's your recommendation?
Well, initially I was going to recommend another distilled spirit, a scotch or a bourbon, but you know what?
You got vetoed.
Chris is vetoing it, and I did mention a book at the onset of this podcast. I really want to recommend that, and so I looked up the authors. Again, that book is called Younger Next Year, and it is by a fella named Chris Crowley and Dr. Henry S. Lodge. Younger Next Year. You can get that on Amazon. You can get it on audiobook as well. And it's just really interesting. As I mentioned, it breaks down from an evolutionary biology perspective, why we age, why we, get sick as we get on in years, and how to try and prevent that as best you can through lifestyle changes. It's really, I found it really intriguing. It is geared for old people, but the way I see it, one day I'm going to be an old person unless something bad happens first. So might as well be armed with this knowledge now, because if you don't use it, you lose it. And, watching my parents get older and seeing how their relatively sedentary lifestyles are starting to affect their health, I don't want to be like that. So I need to be more consistent with my exercise and practice what I'm preaching here. But hopefully when I'm an octogenarian, I'll be booting along like a 60-year-old. Yeah.
So that's it for this week, folks. Thanks for tuning in. We will be back next week with episode 4. Don't know what the topic's going to be quite yet, but I'm sure it's going to be something very interesting.
If people have ideas for deep dive conversations they want us to tackle, where can they reach us?
They can reach us on the social medias. We now have our official SoundCloud. Oh, we've got an email address.
We do have an email address.
We have an email address. It is highfivesanddeepdives@gmail.com. Being web guys, undoubtedly we're going to have our own website at some point.
To build one.
Yeah, but that's effort.
Yeah.
As long as you're consistent in life,
That's key.
good things will come.
Consistency.
So watch out for that.
In all things, including podcasting.
Good night.
That was awkward. That was awkward.
Okay.